In the heart of rural tranquility, 26-year-old Camila Reyes flees her city life and toxic relationship for a one-week farm work exchange at Stonegate Farm. What begins as a temporary escape transforms into an unexpected journey of self-discovery. As she meets Beckett Hayes, the serious farm owner with intense blue eyes and a mysterious past. As Camila's hands grow calloused and her heart opens, she must decide if this new life is just a fleeting chapter or the beginning of her forever story. Before we begin this story, comment below where you're watching from. The morning sun was bright as Camila Reyes packed the last of her belongings into her small car. At 26, she felt much older. The city apartment she was leaving held too many memories of Jason, her ex-boyfriend who had spent 2 years telling her she was too emotional, too scattered, too much of everything wrong. "Good riddance," she muttered, slamming the trunk shut. Her phone buzzed with a message from her friend Tina. "Are you sure about this farm thing? Sounds like the beginning of a horror movie." Camila smiled. The work exchange at Stonegate Farm had appeared in her email just when she needed an escape. 1 week of farm work in exchange for room and board. 1 week to clear her head before deciding what city to move to next, what job to apply for, what life to build. "I'll be fine," she texted back. "Just need some air that doesn't smell like Jason's cologne." The drive took 3 hours, the city gradually giving way to rolling hills and open skies. When she pulled up to the wooden gate marking the entrance to Stonegate Farm, Camila felt something she hadn't in months: curiosity. The property was beautiful in a rugged, honest way. Fields stretched toward distant hills, and the smell of earth and lavender filled the air. A large farmhouse with a wide porch stood in the center, surrounded by barns and smaller outbuildings. As Camila stepped out of her car, a man emerged from the barn. He was tall with broad shoulders and a serious face weathered by the sun. His plain work shirt and jeans were practical, not stylish, but he carried himself with quiet confidence. "You must be Camila," he said, his voice deep and calm. "I'm Beckett Hayes." "Thanks for letting me come on such short notice," Camila said, suddenly aware of how city proper she must look with her manicured nails and designer sneakers that had never seen real dirt. Beckett's eyes were an intense blue that seemed to see right through her. "You're here to help for a week," he said. Then he paused, studying her face. "But something tells me you need more than 7 days to breathe again." Camila raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by his directness. "That obvious?" He just nodded and handed her a pair of worn leather work gloves. "Rest today. We start at sunrise tomorrow." The guest room was simple but comfortable, with a window overlooking the fields. Camila watched the sunset paint the landscape gold and felt the tight knot in her chest loosen slightly. No traffic noise, no neighbors arguing through thin walls, no memories of Jason in every corner. Morning came early at Stonegate Farm. By the time Camila stumbled into the kitchen at 5:30, Beckett was already on his second cup of coffee. "Not a morning person?" he asked, the hint of a smile softening his features. "Not even close," Camila admitted, accepting the mug he offered, "but I'm a fast learner." "Good. Today you'll learn about the chickens." The chicken coop was larger than Camila expected, housing 30 fussy hens who regarded her with suspicion. "They can sense fear," Beckett explained, demonstrating how to gather eggs without getting pecked. "Move with confidence, even if you don't feel it." By mid-morning, Camila's back ached, her hair was a mess, and she had discovered muscles she didn't know existed. But there was something satisfying about the basket of eggs she'd collected. "Not bad for a city girl," Beckett said. "How do you know I'm from the city?" He pointed to her hands. "No calluses, designer watch. The way you jump when the rooster crows." Camila laughed. "Fair enough. So what's your story? Did you grow up here?" Beckett's expression closed off slightly. "No. Inherited it 6 years ago. Parents died in a car accident." "I'm sorry," Camila said, immediately regretting her question. "It's fine. Wasn't the life I planned, but it became the life I needed." He changed the subject. "Let me show you the vegetable garden. We need to harvest tomatoes before the afternoon heat." Over the next few days, Camila fell into the rhythm of farm life. Mornings began with coffee shared in comfortable silence with Beckett. Then came the day's work, feeding animals, weeding gardens, repairing fences. Her body ached, but her mind grew quieter. Sometimes Beckett would find her talking to the chickens or singing to herself while picking vegetables. He never commented, just watched with those intense eyes that seemed to understand more than she said. On the third evening, Camilla joined Beckett on the porch after dinner. The sunset painted the sky pink and orange, and the first stars were appearing. "You own all this land?" she asked, gesturing to the fields stretching to the horizon. 300 acres, Beckett nodded. "Farm's been in the Hayes family for 4 generations." "But you didn't always work here?" Beckett hesitated. "No, I was a corporate lawyer in Chicago. Corner office, expense account, the works." Camilla turned to look at him in surprise. "Seriously? You gave that up for chickens and dirt?" For the first time, Beckett laughed, a rich, warm sound that transformed his face. "When you put it that way, it does sound crazy. But after my parents died, this place needed someone. I came back for the funeral and never left. Don't you miss the city? The excitement?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "But I don't miss the person I was becoming there. Always rushing, never present." He glanced at her. "What about you? What are you running from?" Camilla stared into her mug. "A relationship that went bad. A job that burned me out. The feeling that I've been trying to fit into spaces too small for me." Beckett nodded. The farm has a way of putting things in perspective. By the 5th day, Camilla realized she was humming while she worked. The constant anxiety that had followed her from the city had quieted to a whisper. She found herself watching Beckett when he didn't notice, the careful way he handled newborn lambs, the quiet authority in his voice when giving instructions, the rare smile that appeared when she did something right. That afternoon, rain clouds gathered suddenly. Beckett found Camilla in the vegetable garden. "Storm's coming, we need to get the hay covered and the animals in." They worked quickly side by side, racing against the darkening sky. The rain began just as they closed the barn, tired of fat drops that quickly became a downpour. They ran for the house, laughing as they reached the porch, soaking wet. Camilla pushed her wet hair from her face, breathless. "That was close." Beckett was looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. "You're good in a crisis," he said, quietly. "Most city people would have panicked." "Maybe I'm not a city girl at heart," Camilla replied, surprised by how true the words felt. Later that evening, with the rain drumming on the roof, they sat by the fireplace drinking hot cider. Camilla felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire. "Tell me about your ex," Beckett said suddenly. Camilla's hand tightened around her mug. "Jason? Not much to tell. He was charming until he wasn't. Made me feel like I was always too much, too emotional, too disorganized, too loud. And now? Now I'm wondering if the problem wasn't that I was too much, but that he was too little," Camilla said, surprising herself with the clarity of the thought. Beckett nodded slowly. "Some people can't handle someone who lives fully." The 6th day dawned clear after the storm. The farm seemed renewed, everything fresh and vibrant. Camilla found herself dreading the thought of leaving the next day. The idea of returning to dating apps and job interviews made her stomach knot. While helping Beckett repair a fence that afternoon, she gathered her courage. "Do you ever take on workers for longer than a week?" Beckett looked up from hammering. "Depends on the worker. What if I wanted to stay a little longer? I'm a quick learner." His eyes held hers for a long moment. "How much longer?" "I don't know," Camilla admitted. "I just know I'm not ready to leave yet." That night, Camilla couldn't sleep. She slipped out of the house and walked to the field fence, leaning against it to look at the stars. Brighter here than she'd ever seen in the city. She heard Beckett's footsteps before she saw him. He joined her at the fence, his presence solid and reassuring. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Too much thinking. Tomorrow I'm supposed to leave, go back to real life. And you don't want to." It wasn't a question, but Camilla answered anyway. "I feel more real here than I have in years." She turned to face him. "Thank you for letting me feel useful again." Beckett's eyes were serious in the moonlight. "You weren't just useful. You made this place feel alive again." He hesitated, then added softly, "Stay. Not for the work. Stay for me." The words hung in the night air between them. Before Camilla could answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to see an email notification, a job offer, in Chicago. The position she'd applied for months ago before everything with Jason fell apart. Good salary, prestigious company. She said nothing, just slipped the phone back into her pocket. Beckett watched her, his face unreadable. Bad news? Just complicated timing, Camilla said. I need to think. The walk back to the house was silent. At her bedroom door, Beckett paused. Whatever you decide, Camilla, you've brought something good to Stonegate. Don't forget that. Morning. Came too quickly. Camilla made her decision and wrote a note, leaving it on the kitchen table where Beckett would find it. I wasn't ready to stay forever, but I'm ready to try longer than a week. She walked outside to load her overnight bag into her car, just enough to last until she could drive back to the city for the rest of her belongings. The morning air was fresh, full of possibility. The sound of a car on the gravel driveway made her turn. A sleek black sedan she didn't recognize pulled up to the farm gate. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Camilla's heart stopped. Jason, looking polished and determined, exactly as he had when they'd first met. Camilla, he called, walking toward her with the confident smile that had once made her weak, at the knees. Thank God I found you. It's time to come home where you belong. Behind her, Camilla heard the farmhouse door open. Beckett stood on the porch, the note in his hand, watching the scene unfold. And in that moment, Camilla knew she was standing between her past and a possible future, with a choice that would change everything. Jason's presence seemed to shrink. The farm. He stood there in his expensive suit and polished shoes, looking completely out of place against the backdrop of fields and barns. What are you doing here? Camilla asked, her voice steadier than she expected. Jason flashed his signature charming smile, the one that used to make her feel special, but now just felt calculated. When you didn't return my calls, I tracked your phone. Drastic, I know, but I was worried. He looked around the farm with poorly disguised distaste. This little vacation has gone on long enough, don't you think? I came to bring you back where you belong. From the corner of her eye, Camilla could see Beckett walking toward them, his face a mask of control. The note he'd been holding was now tucked into his pocket. I don't belong with you, Jason, Camilla said. We broke up, remember? You called me exhausting and said you needed someone more stable. Jason waved his hand dismissively. I was stressed about work. You know how I get. But I've had time to think, and I realize now what I lost. He lowered his voice, stepping closer. You can't seriously be considering staying in this place. What about your career? Your friends? Real life? Before Camilla could answer, Beckett reached them. He didn't say anything, just stood slightly behind her, a solid presence at her back. Beckett, this is Jason Miller. My ex-boyfriend, Camilla said, emphasizing the ex. Jason, this is Beckett Hayes. He owns Stonegate Farm. The two men sized each other up. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. Jason in his tailored suit, every hair in place. Beckett in worn jeans and a flannel shirt, his hands bearing the calluses of honest work. Pleasure, Jason said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Thanks for giving Camilla a place to clear her head, but she's got a life to get back to now. I think Camilla can decide that for herself, Beckett replied, his voice calm but with an edge of steel. Jason's smile faltered. He turned back to, Camilla, there's something else you should know. I spoke with Martin at Archer Consulting, the job you applied for. It's yours if you want it. 6 figures, corner office, exactly what you've been working toward. He checked his watch. But we need to leave now. They need your answer by end of day. Camilla felt her heart race. The job at Archer had been her dream position before everything fell apart with Jason. Now it felt like a step backward into a life that no longer fit. I appreciate you coming all this way, she said carefully, but I've decided to stay here a bit longer. Jason's confident expression slipped. You can't be. Serious? For what? Playing farmer? This isn't you, Camilla. Actually, she said with growing certainty, I'm more myself here than I've been in years. Jason's charm vanished, replaced by the cold calculation she'd grown to fear during their relationship. It's him, isn't it? He jerked his head toward Beckett. You've known this guy for what, a week, and you're throwing away everything for him? I'm not throwing away anything, Camilla replied. I'm choosing something new. Jason's face hardened. Fine, have your little rural fantasy, but when it falls apart, and it will, don't come crawling back. He turned to Beckett. She'll get bored, you know. City girls always do. She needs excitement. Culture, people, things you can't give her. Beckett remained silent, his eyes on Camilla rather than Jason. I think you should leave now, Camilla said quietly. With a final dismissive look around the farm, Jason got back into his car and drove away, leaving a cloud of dust on the gravel road. The silence that followed felt heavy. Camilla turned to face Beckett, unsure what to say. I read your note, he said finally. I meant it, she replied. If the offer still stands. Beckett's face softened. It does, but that job in Chicago isn't what I need right now. Camilla took a deep breath. I need peace. I need to remember who I am without someone telling me who I should be. I think I can find that here. That evening, they sat on the porch swing watching the sunset. The distance between them was smaller now, their shoulders almost touching. Jason wasn't entirely wrong, you know, Camilla said softly. Feusender, you and I barely know each other. This is all happening so fast. Beckett nodded. That's why I'm not asking for forever, just for you to stay long enough to be sure. About the farm, about what you want. He paused. About me. Their conversation was interrupted by the ringing of Beckett's phone. He frowned at the screen before answering. Yes, this is Beckett Hayes, he said. His expression grew serious as he listened. I understand. Yes, I'll be there. When he hung up, Camilla could see the tension in his jaw. Everything okay? That was my brother, Malcolm. He's a partner at the law firm I used to work for. Beckett ran a hand through his hair. There's an issue with the farm. I need to go into the city tomorrow to sort it out. What kind of issue? Beckett hesitated. Financial. When I inherited this place, I took out loans to modernize the equipment, expand operations. I've made every payment, but there's been some complication. Can I help? Camilla asked. He seemed about to refuse, then reconsidered. Actually, yes. The farm can't stop running just because I'm gone. If you're really staying, this would be your first real test. The next morning, Beckett left at dawn with a list of instructions for Camilla. Running the farm alone was daunting, but she found herself rising to the challenge. By evening, she was exhausted but satisfied. She'd managed to feed all the animals, repair a broken water pipe, and even help deliver a calf with only phone guidance from the local vet. When her phone rang, she expected it to be Beckett checking in. Instead, it was a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Is this Camilla Reyes? A woman's voice asked. Yes, who's this? My name is Vanessa Hayes. I'm Beckett's ex-wife. Camilla felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. His ex-wife? He didn't mention me, did he? Vanessa's laugh was cold. Typical. I thought you should know who you're getting involved with before you make a mistake. Why would you call me? Camilla asked, her guard up. Because I was you once, charmed by the rustic farmer act, thinking I'd found something real. Vanessa's voice grew bitter. But Beckett Hayes is not who he pretends to be. Did he tell you about the trust fund, about how he's not just some simple farmer, but one of the richest men in the state? Camilla sat down heavily on the porch steps. What do you want, Vanessa? Just to warn you. Beckett doesn't know how to love anyone or anything except this farm. I wasted 3 years trying to compete with it. There was a pause. Ask him about what happened with his parents. Ask him why he really came back here. The call ended, leaving Camilla with a knot of confusion and doubt. Beckett had never mentioned being married or having money beyond what the farm provided. She was still sitting on the porch when headlights cut through the darkness. Beckett's truck pulled up, and he stepped out, looking tired. You're still up, he said, climbing the steps to join her. How did it go in the city? His expression was grim. Not great. The bank is threatening foreclosure. They claim I missed payments, but I have receipts proving otherwise. It's going to be a legal battle. Camilla studied his face, searching for signs of the deception Vanessa had hinted at. Beckett, is there something you're not telling me? About the farm, about your past? He went still. What do you mean? Your ex-wife called me today. The color drained from his face. Vanessa, how did she even know about you? She didn't say, But she told me things about you having money, about there being more to the story with your parents. Beckett sat down beside her, suddenly looking much older. I should have told you everything from the beginning. Then tell me now. He took a deep breath. Yes, my family has money. Old money, from my mother's side. And yes, I inherited more than just this farm when my parents died. He looked out at the darkened fields. But Vanessa didn't understand that money never mattered to me. This land did. And your parents? What happened to them? Pain flickered across his face. The official story is they died in a car accident. The truth is more complicated. They were driving home from visiting me in Chicago. I'd been pushing them to sell parts of the farm to maximize their investment, as I put it then. We argued. They left angry. Camilla's heart ached at the guilt in his voice. You blame yourself. Every day, he admitted quietly. That's why I came back, not just out of obligation, but to honor what they built, what they loved. And Vanessa, we were married for 2 years. She thought farm life would be charming until she realized it was also hard work and isolation. She wanted me to sell everything and move back to the city. When I refused, she left. Camilla was quiet for a long moment. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Because when you arrived, you looked at me and saw just a farmer, not a trust fund kid playing at rural life, not a lawyer who could argue his way out of anything. Just a man who worked with his hands. He met her eyes. Do you know how rare that is? The next morning, Camilla woke early and joined Beckett for coffee on the porch. The air was fresh with possibility. I've been thinking, she said, about your problem with the bank. It's my problem to solve, Beckett said firmly. Maybe. But before I was burned out and hiding on a farm, I was pretty good at marketing and business development. Camilla smiled. The farm produces amazing things. Your lavender honey, those heirloom tomatoes, but you sell everything wholesale at rock-bottom prices. Beckett looked skeptical. What are you suggesting? A farm store, direct-to-consumer, premium pricing, maybe even online sales. Her excitement grew as she spoke. People will pay triple for honey when they know the story behind it, when they feel connected to where it comes from. I don't know the first thing about that kind of business, Beckett admitted. But I do, Camilla said. Let me help. It could generate enough income to fight the bank and keep the farm secure. For the first time since returning from the city, Beckett smiled. You'd do that? Yes, Camilla said simply. This place has given me something I didn't even know I was missing. I want to give something back. As days turned into weeks, Camilla threw herself into transforming an old storage shed into a charming farm store. She created social media accounts, took photographs of the farm's products, and designed simple but effective packaging. Word spread quickly in the surrounding communities. Soon, customers were driving hours to visit Stonegate Farm to meet the bees that made the honey and see the fields where the lavender grew. Beckett watched Camilla bloom with the project, her natural warmth drawing people in, her city-honed business sense making everything run smoothly. For the first time since inheriting the farm, he felt the burden of keeping it afloat lighten. One evening, as they counted the day's impressive earnings, Beckett caught Camilla's hand in his. You've saved this place, he said softly. We're saving. Tie it together, she corrected him. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home, like the final piece of a puzzle neither of them realized they'd been solving, but their newfound happiness was about to face its greatest test. As customers left the farm store that Saturday, a sleek car pulled up. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, the family resemblance to Beckett unmistakable. Malcolm, Beckett greeted him cautiously. What brings you out here? Malcolm. Hayes looked around at the bustling farm with a surprised expression. I came to tell you the bank isn't backing down, but it seems you've been busy. His eyes landed on Camilla. Very busy. This is Camilla Reyes, Beckett introduced her. She's been helping me turn things around here. Malcolm's handshake was firm, his smile calculating. Impressive, but I'm afraid it might be too little too late. The bank has set a deadline, 30 days to repay the loan in full, or they'll start foreclosure proceedings. That's impossible, Beckett protested. Even with our increased revenue, we can't raise that kind of money so quickly. Actually, Malcolm said smoothly, there is one solution. The offer from Westland Development is still on the table. They'll pay more than enough to clear your debts with plenty left over. Camilla looked between the brothers. What offer? Beckett's jaw tightened. They want to buy the land, turn it into a resort and golf course. You'd have to be crazy not to take it, Malcolm pressed. It's prime real estate and you're drowning in debt. Be practical for once in your life, Beck. After Malcolm left, an uncomfortable silence fell between Beckett and Camilla. You never mentioned any development offer, she said finally. Because I'm not considering it, Beckett replied firmly. This land stays a farm, even if it means losing everything. His eyes met hers. Would you really want me to sell? After everything we've built here? Camilla hesitated. I want you to make the best choice for your future. Our future, he corrected her. At least I hoped. The moment was interrupted by the sound of a car on the gravel driveway. They turned to see Jason stepping out of his sedan, looking just as out of place as he had weeks before. But this time, he wasn't alone. A sophisticated older woman emerged from the passenger side, her sharp eyes taking in the farm with clear interest. Camilla, Jason called, waving as if they were old friends. I'd like you to meet someone. This is Victoria Westland, CEO of Westland Development. I believe she has a business proposition you both might find interesting. As Victoria Westland approached with Jason at her side, Camilla felt Beckett tense beside her. The battle for Stonegate Farm, and for their future together, had just become much more complicated. Victoria Westland exuded power in her tailored pantsuit and designer shoes. Her silver hair was cut in a stylish bob, and her keen eyes missed. Nothing as she approached. Mr. Hayes, she extended her hand to Beckett. Your farm is quite charming. I can see why you're so attached to it. Beckett shook her hand briefly. Ms. Westland, I've made it clear to your company several times that Stonegate isn't for sale. Victoria smiled, undeterred. Circumstances change. Mr. Hayes, I understand the bank is giving you trouble. She glanced at Jason, who hovered nearby with a smug expression. Jason here was kind enough to bring your situation to my attention. Camilla turned to Jason, betrayal stinging. How did you even know about the bank situation? Your new boyfriend's brother is more practical than he is, Jason replied. Malcolm and I move in the same circles. When he mentioned Beckett's financial troubles, I thought of Victoria's interest in this property. Beckett's face hardened. I think you both should leave. Before you dismiss us, Victoria said smoothly, I'd like to make you a new offer, one that might surprise you. She opened her leather portfolio and withdrew some papers. Westland Development is prepared to pay double what we initially offered. Despite himself, Beckett looked at the figure on the page. It was enough to clear his debt several times over. I still have no interest in seeing Stonegate turned into a golf course, he said firmly. Victoria smiled. Actually, our plans have changed. We're now looking to create an eco-resort, a working farm that doubles as a luxury getaway. We'd keep most of the agricultural operations intact. Camilla couldn't help being intrigued. You mean people would come here to experience farm life? Exactly, Victoria nodded. Farm-to-table dining, agricultural workshops, a true connection to the land, but with 5-star accommodations, of course. The buildings would all need to be demolished, Beckett pointed out, including the farmhouse my great-grandfather built. Some sacrifices would be necessary, Victoria admitted, but we'd honor the Hayes legacy in the naming and design, and you could stay on as a consultant if you wished. I'll think about it, Beckett said finally, though his expression remained doubtful. That's all I ask. Victoria handed him her business card. Call me when you're ready to discuss details. As Victoria walked back to the car, Jason lingered. Camilla, can we talk privately for a minute? Beckett looked like he wanted to object, but Camilla placed a reassuring hand on his arm. It's okay. I'll meet you inside. Once Beckett had reluctantly gone into the house, Jason dropped his charming facade. So you're making a mistake, he said bluntly. By not running back to you, I don't think so. Not that. Jason waved dismissively. I'm talking about this farm fantasy. You're helping him fight a losing battle. The bank will take this place and... Then what? You'll both end up with nothing. We're doing well with the farm store, Camilla defended. Jason laughed. Selling jam to tourists? That's hardly a career for someone with your potential. His voice softened. Look, I didn't just bring Victoria here to help Hayes. I had you in mind too. What do you mean? Victoria needs someone to market the eco-resort concept. When I told her about your background, she was impressed. There could be a position for you at Westland Development, a real job, with a real future. Camilla was taken aback. You want me to convince Beckett to sell his family's farm so I can get a job with the company buying it? I want you to be practical, Jason countered. This is a win-win. He gets out of debt with a small fortune to spare. You get a career worthy of your talents. Why sacrifice everything for a man you've known for what, a month? His words hit uncomfortably close to Camilla's own doubts. I need to go, she said, turning away. Just think about it, Jason called after her. Victoria's offer won't be on the table forever. Inside the farmhouse, Beckett was sitting at the kitchen table, the Westland proposal in front of him. He looked up when Camilla entered. What did Jason want? To offer me a job with Westland Development, Camilla admitted, sitting across from him. If you sell, Beckett's jaw tightened. Of course, they're covering all angles. Are you really not considering their offer at all? Camilla asked carefully. It would solve your financial problems overnight. And destroy everything my family built. Beckett pushed the papers away. This land has been a working farm for over a century. It means something. Maybe that sounds foolish to someone from the city. That's not fair, Camilla interrupted. I've put my heart into this place too. I'm just trying to be practical about our options. Our options? Beckett's eyes softened slightly. So you're still planning to stay? I want to, Camilla said honestly. But I also don't want to watch you lose everything to the bank when there's another way out. Beckett reached across the table and took her hand. Give me 30 days. If we can't raise enough to satisfy the bank by then, I'll reconsider Westland's offer. 30 days isn't much time, Camilla pointed out. Then we'd better get to work. The next morning, they called an emergency meeting with the handful of part-time workers who helped on the farm. Camilla outlined an ambitious plan. They would host a farm festival in 3 weeks' time, with all proceeds going to Save Stonegate. We'll need local businesses to sponsor booths, musicians to perform for free, and volunteers to help with the crowds, she explained. It's a long shot, but if we can create enough buzz. Everyone enthusiastically volunteered their networks and skills. By the end of the day, a social media campaign was underway, and local news outlets had been contacted. As they worked side by side preparing for the festival, Camilla and Beckett grew closer. Late nights planning turned into quiet conversations about their hopes and fears. Stolen kisses between tasks made the work feel lighter. One evening, as they finished creating signs for the festival, Beckett became unusually quiet. What are you thinking about? Camilla asked. What happens after this is all over, he admitted. If we save the farm, or even if we don't, what comes next for you? Camilla set down her paintbrush. What do you mean? You came here for a week. You've stayed for a month, but eventually you might want more than this place can offer. He hesitated. More than I can offer. Beckett, you're brilliant, Camilla. The way you've marketed the farm, organized this festival, you could have an amazing career in any city you choose. His voice grew rough. I don't want to hold you back. Camilla moved to sit beside him. Nobody's ever accused me of doing things I don't want to do. I'm here because I choose to be. For now, Beckett said softly. But what about a year from now? 5 years? Will farm life still be enough? Before she could answer, his phone rang. It was Malcolm with news. The bank had agreed to a small extension on their deadline, impressed by the community support rallying around Stonegate. The reprieve gave them renewed energy for the festival preparations. Camilla threw herself into every detail, determined to make it a success. A week before the event, she was in town posting flyers when she ran into Jason outside the local coffee shop. Festival to Save the Farm? He read from the flyer. Ambitious. It's going to work, Camilla said with more confidence than she felt. Jason studied her face. You really care about this place. About him. Yes, she replied simply. Enough to give up everything else? The question echoed Beckett's concerns, making Camilla pause. Why does everyone assume I'm giving something up? Maybe I'm gaining something instead. Like what, chicken feed and calluses? Jason shook his head. The Camilla I knew had bigger dreams than that. The Camilla you knew was exhausted and miserable, she shot back. I'm happier now than I've been in years. Fair enough, Jason conceded. He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. But if things change, Victoria's offer still stands, both for the farm and for you. The day of the festival dawned sunny and clear. Cars lined the road to Stonegate Farm, and the fields were transformed with booths, a small stage, and strings of lights for when evening came. Local families poured in, paying the entrance fee that would go directly to saving the farm. Children giggled as they fed the sheep and collected eggs. Couples strolled through the lavender fields. The farm store sold out of everything before noon. Camilla watched it all with a mixture of pride and anxiety. They were doing well, but would it be enough? As the sun began to set, Beckett found her by the cider booth. "We need to talk," he said quietly, leading her away from the crowds. "Is something wrong?" she asked, alarmed by his serious expression. "Malcolm just called. The final tally from the bank came in." He took a deep breath. "Even with today's proceeds, we're still short. By a lot." Camilla's heart sank. "How much?" Beckett named a figure that made her stomach drop. "There's no way we can raise that much in the time we have left." "What about another loan or investors?" "Malcolm's been trying. No one wants to take a risk on a farm with existing debt." Beckett's voice was resigned. "I think I need to call Victoria Westland." "No," Camilla said firmly. "Not yet. I have one. More idea." That night, after the festival wound down and the last visitors left, Camilla made a difficult phone call. 2 hours later, she found Beckett on the porch, staring out at the darkened fields. "I think I found a solution," she said, sitting beside him. "What kind of solution?" he asked, too afraid to hope. "An investor. Someone willing to put up the money we need to clear the debt and make improvements to the farm." Beckett turned to her, surprised. "Who would do that?" Camilla took a deep breath. "Me." "What? How?" "The job offer from Archer. Consulting that I turned down. I called them back. They still want me." She squeezed his hand. "The signing bonus alone would cover almost half of what we need." Beckett pulled his hand away. "You'd go back to the city? Work for the company Jason connected you with?" "No, that's the thing," Camilla explained eagerly. "They're willing to let me work remotely most of the time. I'd only need to be in Chicago 1 week a month. And in exchange, you'd own part of Stonegate." Beckett's voice was flat. "Not exactly. I'd be investing in our plans for expansion, the farm store, educational programs, everything we've talked about." She searched his face. "I thought you'd be happy. You thought I'd be happy having you bail me out, becoming my business partner out of pity?" "It's not pity," Camilla protested. "It's belief in what we're building here, together." Beckett stood up, pacing the porch. "I can't let you do this. It's too much to ask. You're not asking, I'm offering. It's my responsibility to save this farm. Mine." His voice broke slightly. "I promised my parents I'd keep it going no matter what." "And you will," Camilla insisted. "But not alone. That's what partnerships are about, sharing the load." Beckett stopped pacing and looked at her, vulnerability clear in his eyes. "And what if it doesn't work out between us? What if you decide farm life isn't for you after all? Then what? Then we figure it out like adults," Camilla said. "But I'm not going anywhere, Beckett. I love this farm." She stood and moved closer to him. "And I love you." The words hung in the night air. Beckett's expression softened, and he pulled her into his arms. "I love you too," he whispered against her hair. "But I need time to think about your offer." The next morning, Camilla awoke to find Beckett already gone, a note on the kitchen table saying he'd gone to meet with Malcolm to discuss options. She busied herself cleaning up after the festival, trying not to worry. When a car pulled up the driveway mid-afternoon, she expected it to be Beckett returning. Instead, it was Victoria Westland alone this time. "Ms. Reyes," Victoria greeted her. "I hope I'm not intruding. I was hoping to speak with Mr. Hayes. He's out at the moment, Camilla replied cautiously. I can tell him you stopped by. Actually, Victoria said, perhaps it's better this way. I wanted to speak with you as well. She glanced around. Your festival was quite impressive. You have a natural talent for this kind of work. Thank you, Camilla said, wondering where this was leading. Jason tells me you're considering taking a position with Archer Consulting. Victoria's smile was calculating. Before you commit to that, I'd like to make you a counteroffer. Come work for Westland Development instead. I'm not interested in helping you turn Stonegate into a resort, Camilla said firmly. Not even if it means saving it. Victoria pulled some papers from her bag. I've been doing some research on Stonegate's situation. The bank isn't just calling in the loan because of missed payments. They're foreclosing because the land has been rezoned, making it far more valuable for development than agriculture. Camilla felt cold. How do you know that? It's my business to know these things, Victoria replied. What you and Mr. Hayes don't realize is that the bank has already made a deal to sell to another developer if he defaults, one who plans to level everything and build a shopping center. Why are you telling me this? Because unlike our competitors, Westland Development is committed to preserving at least some of Stonegate's agricultural heritage. Victoria's voice softened convincingly. I grew up on a farm not unlike this one. I understand what it means to Hayes. Our eco-resort plan would be a compromise that honors this land while making it economically viable. Camilla wanted to dismiss Victoria's words as manipulation, but they carried the uncomfortable ring of truth. I need to discuss this with Beckett. Of course, Victoria handed her a folder. All the details are in here, including proof of the bank's plans. Our offer expires tomorrow at noon. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and the job offer for you is included as well. Director of Marketing for the entire Westland portfolio, not just this project. Something to consider. After Victoria left, Camilla sat on the porch steps, the folder heavy in her hands. Everything was happening too fast. A month ago, her biggest worry had been finding a new apartment. Now she was caught in the middle of a fight for a farm she'd grown to love, with the man she'd grown to love. The sound of Beckett's truck coming up the driveway pulled her from her thoughts. His expression as he approached told her something was wrong. Malcolm found out why the bank is being so aggressive, he said without preamble. The land's been rezoned. There's a developer ready to buy it once we default. I know, Camilla held up Victoria's folder. She was just here. Beckett's face darkened. What did she want? To convince me that Westland's eco-resort is better than her shopping mall. Camilla hesitated. And to offer me a job. And? Beckett's voice was carefully neutral. What did you tell her? That I needed to talk to you first. Camilla stood up, facing him squarely. What happened with Malcolm? Did you tell him about my offer to invest? Beckett nodded slowly. I did. He thinks it's our best option, actually. He ran a hand through his hair. But I can't ask you to tie yourself to this place to me because of a financial crisis. You're not asking, I'm choosing. Camilla stepped closer. Unless you don't want me to stay. Before Beckett could answer, the sound of yet another car approaching caught their attention. This time it was Jason, driving much too fast up the gravel road. He jumped out, looking agitated. You need to hear this, he said without greeting. Victoria Westland isn't being honest with you. Beckett and Camilla exchanged confused looks. What are you talking about? Beckett asked. I overheard her on the phone. Westland Development has no plans for an eco-resort. It's a lie to get you to sell. Jason looked genuinely disturbed. They're planning a high-density housing development. They'll clear-cut everything. Why are you telling us this? Camilla asked suspiciously. I thought you were working with Victoria. I was, Jason admitted, but only because I thought her plan would benefit everyone, including you two. He turned to Beckett. I may not understand your attachment to this place, but I know what it means to you. And I know what you mean to Camilla. Beckett studied Jason's face, trying to determine if he was telling the truth. We have until tomorrow to decide. Then you'd better decide carefully, Jason replied, because once you sign those papers, there's no going back. As Jason drove away, Beckett and Camilla stood in silence, the weight of the decision before them, hanging in the air. "What do you think?" Camilla finally asked. "Do you believe him?" Beckett looked out at the fields, golden in the setting sun. The land his family had tended for generations, the place that had brought Camilla into his life. "I believe," he said slowly, "that it's time to stop letting others determine our future." He turned to her, decision clear in his eyes. "If you're serious about investing in Stonegate, about investing in us, then I have just one question to ask. You." The sun was setting over Stonegate Farm, casting long shadows across the fields that had become Camilla's home. She held her breath, waiting for Beckett's question. "Camilla Reyes," he said, taking both her hands in his, "will you be my partner? Not just in business, but in life." Her heart swelled. "Is that a proposal?" "Not exactly," Beckett smiled. "More of a promise, a commitment to figure out our future together, whatever that looks like." "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes to all of it." Their embrace was interrupted by the sound of a truck coming up the driveway. Malcolm stepped out, carrying a folder and wearing a rare smile. "Good news," he announced, approaching them. "I think I found a solution." Inside the farmhouse, they gathered around the kitchen table as Malcolm spread out documents. "After our meeting, I made some calls to my contacts in agricultural law," he explained. "Turns out there's a state program that protects historic farmland from development. If we can prove Stonegate qualifies, and with its century-long history, the rezoning could be challenged." Beckett studied the papers. "What's the catch?" "Time," Malcolm admitted. "The application process takes months. We'd still need to satisfy the bank in the meantime." "That's where I come in," Camilla said confidently. "With my investment and the money we raised at the festival, we can make a good faith payment. If the bank sees we're applying for protected status, they might be willing to renegotiate terms." Malcolm nodded approvingly. "It's worth a shot, better than selling to Westland." "Speaking of Westland," Beckett said, "Jason came by earlier with some interesting information. He claims their eco-resort plan is a fraud." Malcolm didn't look surprised. "I had my suspicions. Victoria Westland has a reputation for saying whatever it takes to close a deal." For the first time in weeks, Beckett looked hopeful. "So we have a plan, a real one." "It won't be easy," Malcolm cautioned. "Even with Camilla's investment, we'll be operating on a razor-thin margin." "When has anything worthwhile ever been easy?" Camilla smiled, squeezing Beckett's hand. The next morning, Beckett and Camilla dressed in their best clothes, which for Beckett meant his one suit, slightly dusty from disuse, and for Camilla, a simple dress she'd brought from her city life. "Ready?" Beckett asked as they prepared to drive to the bank. "Ready?" Camilla nodded, the check from her savings account secure in her purse. Before they could leave, the now familiar sound of tires on gravel announced yet another visitor. This time, it was Victoria Westland, looking polished and confident. "Mr. Hayes, Ms. Reyes," she greeted them. "I've come for your answer. I assume you've had time to review my offer?" "We have," Beckett said firmly, "and our answer is no. Stonegate Farm is not for sale, not to you, not to anyone." Victoria's pleasant expression hardened. "I thought you might say that. Jason Miller called me last night, quite upset. He seems to think I misrepresented my company's intentions." "Did you?" Camilla asked directly. Victoria ignored the question. "What Jason fails to understand is that business requires flexibility. Plans change based on market conditions." She narrowed her eyes. "But what doesn't change is the reality of your situation. The bank will foreclose. The shopping center will be built, and all your efforts will have been for nothing." "We'll take our chances," Beckett replied calmly. Victoria's composure slipped. For a moment. "This is emotional thinking, not business. That farm store you're so proud of, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what you need." "It's a beginning," Camilla countered, "and we've applied for protected agricultural status." This clearly caught Victoria off guard. "That program, it's underfunded and backlogged with applications. You'll be bankrupt long before you're approved." "Maybe," Beckett acknowledged. "But I'd rather lose fighting for this land than profit from its destruction." Victoria studied them both, realizing she'd lost. "Well," she said finally, "I admire your determination, if not your business sense. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card, handing it to Camilla. "When this falls apart, and it will, my offer to you still stands. Talent like yours shouldn't be wasted on a failing farm." After Victoria drove away, Beckett turned to Camilla. "Having second thoughts?" "Not one," she assured him. "Now let's go save our farm." The meeting at the bank was tense but productive. With Malcolm's legal expertise, Camilla's business plan for the farm, and their combined financial resources, they convinced the manager to give them a 6-month extension on the loan. "It's not a permanent solution," the banker warned, "but it gives you breathing room to pursue this protected status application." As they walked out of the bank, the weight that had been pressing on Beckett's shoulders for months seemed to lift. He grabbed Camilla and spun her around right there on the sidewalk. "We did it," he laughed. 6 months to make this work." We'll make it work," she promised. The drive back to Stonegate was filled with excited planning. Camilla had ideas for expanding the farm store, offering workshops, even hosting small weddings in the lavender fields. "You've really thought all this through," Beckett marveled. "I've had nothing but time and inspiration," she smiled. "This place, this life, it gives me purpose, something I never found in the city." "And us?" Beckett asked, suddenly serious. "Are you sure this is what you want? A farmer for a partner, a farmhouse for a home?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Camilla said. "But what about you? Are you ready to share Stonegate with someone else? To build something new?" "With you?" "Absolutely." 6 months passed in, a blur of hard work and shared dreams. The farm store expanded, adding local artisans' products alongside Stonegate's honey and produce. Camilla's marketing expertise brought in tourists from neighboring states. Her remote work for the consulting firm balanced the farm's fluctuating income. The application for protected status moved slowly through the system, but positive signals from the state office gave them hope. On a warm evening, exactly 6 months, after their bank meeting, Beckett and Camilla sat on their favorite porch swing watching the sunset, a bottle of champagne chilled in a bucket beside them. "Malcolm should be calling any minute," Beckett said, checking his watch for the 10th time. "The final decision was supposed to come today." "Whatever happens, we've built something amazing here," Camilla reminded him. "The farm is profitable now. Even if we don't get protected status, we can refinance the loan." Beckett smiled at her. Optimism. "When did you become the practical one?" "When I fell in love with a dreamer," she teased. Beckett's phone rang and they both froze. He answered, putting it on speaker. "Malcolm, what's the news?" There was a long pause. "It's complicated," Malcolm finally said. "The committee voted to grant Stonegate protected status." "That's wonderful," Camilla exclaimed. But Malcolm continued. "There's a challenge being filed by a development consortium. They're arguing the decision was politically motivated." Beckett's face fell. "Let me guess. Westland Development is part of that consortium." "They're leading it," Malcolm confirmed. "This could drag on for months, maybe years." After hanging up, Beckett stared out at his fields in silence. "So we're not done fighting," Camilla said quietly. "No," Beckett agreed, "but maybe that's okay. Some things are worth fighting for indefinitely." He turned to her. "The question is, are you still in this for the long haul? Legal battles, uncertainty, all of it?" Camilla took his face in her hands. "Beckett Hayes, when are you going to understand? I'm not going anywhere." As if on cue, the crunch of tires on gravel announced a visitor. They looked at each other in disbelief. "If that's Victoria Westland again, I might lose my mind," Beckett muttered. But the car coming up the drive wasn't Victoria's sleek sedan or Jason's luxury car. It was an ordinary rental, and the woman who stepped out was a stranger to Beckett but immediately recognizable to Camilla. "Tina?" Camilla called in surprise, hurrying down the porch steps. "What are you doing here?" Tina, Camilla's best friend from the city, grinned and hugged her tightly. "Surprise. I couldn't wait any longer to see this farm you've been talking about for months." As Camilla introduced Tina to Beckett, another car appeared on the driveway. This time, it was Malcolm. "Sorry to drop in unannounced," he said as he approached. "But I have news that couldn't wait for a phone call." "Good news or bad news?" Beckett asked warily. Malcolm smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "The best kind. The development consortium, They've withdrawn their challenge. Camilla gasped. What? Why? Because, said a familiar voice from behind them, someone bought out Westland's interest in the project. They all turned to see Jason standing there, looking uncharacteristically humble. You? Beckett asked incredulously. Jason nodded. Consider it my investment in your farm's future, and my apology. He looked at Camilla. I was wrong about a lot of things, especially about what makes a life worthwhile. Tina glanced between them all, confused. I feel like I missed several episodes of this show. Camilla laughed, the sound pure and free. It's a long story. One I'm still writing, actually. She looked at Beckett with love. We're still writing. That night, with Tina and Malcolm staying in the guest rooms and Jason at the local inn, Stonegate Farm was filled with more laughter and life than it had seen in decades. Camilla and Beckett set up dinner on the long table, under the stars, bringing out the best of the farm's produce and honey. As glasses were raised in celebration, Beckett stood. I want to propose a toast, he said, his eyes finding Camilla's across the table. To new beginnings, to fighting for what matters, and to the woman who taught me that a farm isn't just about land, it's about the people who bring it to life. Camilla blushed, but her smile was radiant. After dinner, while their guests chatted on the porch, Beckett took Camilla's hand and led her to their favorite spot by the field fence. I have something for you, he said, suddenly looking nervous. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden box. It was my grandmother's. Inside was a simple but beautiful ring, a diamond nestled between two sapphires. Beckett, Camilla whispered, her heart pounding. 6 months ago I asked if you would be my partner, he said softly. Tonight I'm asking if you'll be my wife. Not because of the farm or the loan or any practical reason, simply because I love you and I want to build a life with you, wherever that takes us. Even if it's right here forever, Camilla asked, tears in her eyes. Especially if it's right here forever, Beckett smiled. Then yes, Camilla said, as he slipped the ring onto her finger. 1,000 times yes. From the porch, Tina called out, Is he proposing? Because if he is, I need pictures for everyone. Back home, who thought you were crazy for staying here? Camilla and Beckett laughed, holding each other close under the canopy of stars, the same stars that had witnessed her arrival a lifetime ago, or was it just 7 months? When she was lost and searching for peace, she had found so much more. 1 year later, Stonegate Farm was thriving. The protected status was firmly in place, the bank loan refinanced on favorable terms. The lavender fields had doubled in size, and the farm store had become a destination for tourists and locals alike. Camilla divided her time between managing the farm's growing business and her consulting work, finding a balance that allowed her to use all her talents. Beckett had expanded the educational programs, teaching local children about sustainable farming. The light in his eyes when he talked about the land's future had never been brighter. On the anniversary of Camilla's arrival, they hosted a small wedding in the lavender field. Tina was the maid of honor, Malcolm the best man. Even Jason attended, now a friend rather than a rival. As Camilla walked toward Beckett in a simple white dress, wildflowers in her hair, she thought about the woman who had driven up that gravel. Rode a year ago, burned out, heartbroken, searching for a brief escape. Instead, she had found home. When it was time for their vows, Beckett took her hands and smiled. 1 year ago I asked you to stay for a week, he said, his voice strong and sure. Then I asked you to stay for me. Today, I'm asking you to stay. Forever. Camilla's answer was the same as it had always been. Yes. The breeze carried the scent of lavender as they sealed their promise with a kiss, surrounded by the land they had fought for, the life they had chosen, and the love that had surprised them both. Stonegate Farm wasn't just a place anymore. It was their beginning, their story, their forever. And as the sun set over the fields they both now called home, Camilla knew that sometimes the best journeys are the ones that bring you exactly where you need to be, even when it's the last place you expected to find yourself. Sometimes what starts as a season becomes a lifetime, the end.